Hey, everybody. Nice to see you. I don't know how many folks are going to come and join us today, but I'm here, you're here. That's all that really matters. So really excited that you are here. Welcome to our sessions platform. We got lots of content to get through today with some really great tips and tricks on how to budget for your gap year. Your gap year travel. This is what we're going to be covering today. We had our part 1 session earlier today. That was all about the basics of planning for travel. So we talked about what types of travel there were. We talked about all the logistics that you need to think about for planning your gap year, planning your travel. Sorry, I got gap year on the brain. But so many things that were super valuable to you there. We are just uploading that to YouTube, and we will be sending out the link in follow-up emails for all of you. So if you wanted to catch the first one, the link will be there for you. And we are going to be recording this one and doing the exact same, getting this uploaded to YouTube so that you have access to it whenever you want. You can come back and watch it again and again, because we're going to be covering so many great tips and tricks. So we are here and it is going to be awesome. So thrilled that you could make it this evening. And just changing some of the settings here. So we do have a chat feature. So if you do have questions and you want to pop them into the chat, by all means, go ahead and do that. I will keep it open for me or for you guys, so that you can use it if you have questions or want to ask anything that is happening there. So hello, welcome. My name is Michelle Dittmer, and I am the Executive Director of the Canadian Gap Year Association. We are hosting this lovely session this evening, all about the second step of getting your travel together, and it's all about budgeting. So this is one of my favorite things, because it's what makes people most nervous about their travel dreams, hopes, all of those things. So we will give you the tips that you need. And just to give you some background on my travel experience, I've traveled to over 35 different countries around the world. Haven't been to Antarctica, but been to Asia, Europe, let's see, South America, North America. Have not been to Australia or New Zealand. The closest I've got out that way is Japan, Thailand, kind of that area of the world. So I love travel. I've done solo travel. I've traveled with friends. I've traveled as part of groups. I've traveled as part of work. So I've done it all. And I think there is nothing better than to get out in the world and see different things, connect with different cultures, different people, different ways of living. And I think actually the coolest thing about travel is actually learning how resourceful and how self-sufficient you are. Being able to navigate challenges as they arise, being able to troubleshoot problems, being able to be social and putting yourself out there, trying things, taking calculated risks. I think it is just one of the largest growing experiences that you could possibly have. So kudos to you for starting this journey and heading out into the world somewhere. So I want to make sure that we are all here and all engaged. I have a question for you to start. I want to know, you can pop this in the chat, what worries you about affording your gap year travel or your travel? I always want to know, because I want to make sure that we address any of those worries, fears, challenges, because this is your time. So if what I'm saying is not helpful, I want to make sure that we are answering those questions. So pop them in the chat. What are your worries, your fears, your concerns? Don't be shy. There is lots of stuff going on that can make the dollars and cents of things really, really challenging. So Now, I'm going to frame this through the lens of gap years because that's what we do at the Canadian Gap Year Association. But if you are just going to be traveling for another reason, just ignore the gap year part and just insert travel. It will save me a lot because I will get tripped up over my words. But we're going to talk about this travel component. So the reality is that travel comes in all shapes, sizes, colors, budgets. And I think it's really important that you know that bigger budgets do not equal better experiences. Hands down, point blank, point zero, period. If you have more or less money, it does not actually make that much of a difference. Now, when it comes to travel, there are different things you have to consider. It is going to cost some money, but there are ways of having an economical trip and there are ways of having lavish trips. And there isn't any judgment. There isn't one that is better than another. They are just different. It's apples and oranges. It is not a hierarchy. It is just apples and oranges different. So don't be shy in being very, very clear about what your budget is. Really, really, really important. No matter what your budget is, you can make magic happen. And I forgot to turn on my light. And I think that's really important to know that you have the power to make an incredible experience around the world somewhere, no matter what your budget is. So let's make sure that we are going to be going through all of the different steps of budgeting for your travel experience. Step number one, and this is step number one, every part of your gap year, every part of your life, you need to know what your goals are. What is your travel why? Why do you want to travel? And I highly recommend that you have a piece of paper or a notes app or a Google Doc open and you follow along with some of the questions and some of the activities that we're going to do today. Whether you have an actual trip that you're planning or maybe you're dreaming something up or you want to just work through a fictional opportunity, by all means, go ahead and do that, but get something out and do it. I like paper and pen, but I'm an old lady, so you do you, whatever works for you. I want you to answer this question. Why do you want to travel? Why do you want to do this particular trip? And what do you want to get out of it? Those two questions are going to be your North Star. They're going to be your beacon. They are going to help you in all of the decision-making process. And your travel why can be whatever it is. There are thousands of different whys. I want to become more independent. I want to learn about a new culture. I want to have something to brag about. I want to learn a new language. I want to try new food. I want to develop concrete or global skills. Whatever it happens to be, just be clear on what that is. What is your why? Why do you want to travel? And what do you want to get out of it? That is your very, very first step when you are budgeting. And it seems kind of strange that we're not even starting with dollars and cents. We're starting with what are your goals? What do you want to get out of the experience? And you will see why once we get down a couple steps down this list. This is where you really have to start. So now you know your goals. Now we got to know your budget. We need to know where is that money coming from. So if you were to create a balance sheet, if you were to take a piece of paper and down one column, down the left-hand column, if you were to split it in two, what's the money coming in? What is the money coming in? Where is it coming from and how much is it? So are you working? Are you earning money? Maybe your trip isn't until May. So you've got a good couple of months to earn money. What is that going to look like? Maybe you've been saving up. What do you have in your savings account that you are prepared to put into this? Are your parents or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles, is anybody contributing to this trip? And then are you expecting any cash gifts? This is a really great way. We've got holidays coming up. You might have a birthday. So instead of asking for physical gifts, maybe you want to ask for contributions towards your trip. That could be cash, That could also be maybe you need a suitcase or a backpack, and maybe that would be the ask for those special events where people might want to give you gifts. Or maybe you need a SIM card, or maybe you need a fancy camera, or maybe you need some cash in a different currency. Whatever that might be, there are opportunities for that to come in. So that's looking in on the that side. But also, these are just those top ones there. Those are just the kind of money things. But there are also other ways to bring in money to pay for your travel. Lots of different cool things that you can do, and don't be shy to figure out different ways of things that you could do. So we've got here air miles and loyalty points. There are organizations out there that will allow you to share points. So maybe your uncle has 100 million air miles that he's never going to use. Maybe you could book a ticket on those loyalty points. That is a great way to offset the cost and to get some sort of additional income or some sort of input into the budgeting side of your gap year. You could do fundraising. Maybe you are a great artist and maybe you want to sell your paintings to earn money. Maybe you want to have a lemonade stand or a virtual lemonade stand or something of the like. Is there a way that you could do some fundraising? Could you canvass your faith group? Could you canvass your hockey team? Could you talk to your neighbors? Could you, what could you do in terms of fundraising? The next one down there is crowdfunding or crowdsourcing. There are GoFundMe campaigns. There are all sorts of platforms out there to help you do this. And I have seen this done really, really, really well. What the individual did, he was actually biking across Canada and he was filming a documentary on his biking trip across Canada. And what he did that was really successful was he set up different brackets of donations that would receive something from him on the road. So if you gave $50, you would get a postcard from the road. If you gave $100, he would video chat you from the road. If you gave $1,000, he would dedicate a kilometer of his trip to you in his documentary or something like that. But it was really, really effective because he was able to share his journey with people. So not only was he collecting funds to make the travel possible, but he was also inviting other people along on this journey. And one of the things we talked about in part one was talking about a communication plan. How are you going to share it with other people? And is that just a blog, a vlog, an email? And can you connect that to maybe some fundraising or some crowdsourcing? That's all possible. Now, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but those non-cash gifts. So what do you need? Do you need a pair of hiking shoes? What are the things that you might need on your trip? Do you need a lock for your suitcase? Do you need a lock for a locker in a hostel? What are those non-cash gifts that might be helpful to you? And scholarships. I'm going to share some links to some travel scholarships for you. Yes, there are. There are not a lot of them, but there are some out there. And I'm going to share some links to those as well. So these are all different things to consider about where is that input, where is the income for your travel experience. So that's knowing your budget. You're going to tally all of that up. You're going to say, okay, I have X number of dollars for my trip. Great, wonderful. We have a number. Now we need to know how much is the trip going to cost. Really important to be very realistic about this. We need to know, where is all of that money that you have? Where is it going? Is there a portion of your savings that you need to keep for school, for paying for school? Is there a portion of your earnings that need to go for saving for school? So what is that? And let's take that right off the top. That money is untouchable. This is what we've got left. What are the things that you are going to need when you are traveling? Do you need gear? Do you need airplane tickets? Do you need insurance? All sorts of stuff like that. We want to know that all of this is here. We've got this kind of be careful section down here. When we're writing a list of all of the places that we are going to be spending our money, we're going to be talking about food. We're going to be talking about accommodations. We're going to be talking about transportation. So is there flights? Is there train tickets? What does that look like? Other things you want to make sure that you include in your budgeting is insurance. We want to make sure that we are covered. Sometimes your credit card, if you purchase the tickets or the car rental on a credit card, it has built-in insurance. Sometimes it is beneficial to buy some other form of travel insurance. So check what your policies say, check all of the fine print, and if you need to buy that supplemental insurance. Very, very, very helpful. Also think about the timing of purchases. So for example, let's say you wanted to go to Australia in May. Maybe that's what we'll pretend we're planning for a trip to Australia in May. That's great. Let's say a flight is going to cost us $1,500. Just making up numbers, pulling them out of the sky. They might not be reasonable, but here we go. If that flight is going to cost you $1,500 and you're going to be working full-time to make up that $1,500, you have to remember you don't actually have until May to have that $1,500 because you have to purchase your flight before that last minute purchase. So think about when are you going to have to purchase all of these things, and are you going to have enough money in the bank at that time? Things that can add up is food. There are lots of different budgets for food, and there are different organizations out there that will actually help you know how much it costs to stay in a country per day. Let me just pull up that link for you. And so you can actually check and see, what do you think it might cost per day? So I'm going to pop this into the chat here. It's called budgetyourtrip.com. And they've got a list of countries that you can check out and find out what the average cost is. If you are old school like me, I love the Lonely Planet guidebooks. I actually prefer that to the digital version because I can do it on the plane. I can do it in my hostel if everybody else is sleeping. I think they're fantastic. And they actually have recommended itineraries in it and the cost that you can anticipate paying. So lots of different ways to know how much is going to cost. Just think that there are going to be unforeseen expenses. You're going to get a hole in your shoe. You're going to lose your hairbrush. You are going to, drop some cash when you were out at the bar at night. Whatever it happens to be, there are going to be some unforeseen expenses. So we don't want to budget down to the cent. We want to make sure we have a little bit of a buffer there that is going to help us through that. So it can be very, very helpful to have all of that information and put it in the other column. So we've got one column of where is all that money coming in? And we've got that other column of what are the things we anticipate spending it on, and pop it all in there. I can almost guarantee you that your costs are going to be more than the money you have available, which can be frustrating. It can be really frustrating because I've got all these things that I'm going to need for my trip, but it doesn't match the money I have available. But you know what? That is still absolutely positively okay. There are ways to reduce the cost of your trip or earn more money to make these dreams come true, okay? So what we have to do now is we have to figure out, how are we going to raise the amount of money we have coming in, or how are we going to lower the cost of this trip? And so now we've got to bring these back into balance so that we're able to actually afford our trip. So we're going to have to do some work to make it balance. What does that look like? So we've got options for making more money. So we could get more shifts. We could look for a job that has a higher pay. If you're into it, factory work pays really, really, really well. You could do that. You could look at actually shifting when your trip is. So instead of going to Australia in May, maybe we're going to go in August. That's going to give us a couple more months to earn more money. Last one, maybe you're going to look and find some scholarships. Again, I'm going to give you those links in a little bit. But those are ways to bring in more money. So stay tuned for that. But let's look at the other side of it. How do we actually reduce the cost of our trip? Now, I don't want you to just go in and say, okay, well, I'm not going to do the bungee jumping because that costs too much money. And I'm not going to do this because that costs too much money. And I'm not going to travel with that company because it costs too much money. There are things that you can do. So I want you to use these tips and tricks here. If you are traveling with an organization, maybe you're doing a volunteer experience, maybe you are doing a group travel trip, talk to these different organizations about compassionate pricing, about needs-based scholarships or sliding scales. There are lots of ways that organizations can actually cut the cost of the trip that they are providing to you. So don't be shy and ask those questions. You can also reach out to them and say, hey, I can't really afford that, but what I would like to do in exchange is I would like to provide you with some photos and some content and some testimonials and some video interviews, because organizations always need content, whether that's for their website or for socials. Perhaps you can do a little bit of an exchange in terms of exchanging your content for a reduced price in the experience. So that could be one way that you can reduce the cost. The next one is to take your trip that you wanted to be in Australia for 2 months. Maybe you can actually only afford to be in Australia for 1 month. So that is one of the biggest factors in the cost of a trip, is actually how long are you going to be there, because it is going to cost you X number of dollars a day. And if you're doing twice as many days, that daily cost is going to go up. The other piece that is the big cost is flights if you're going to be traveling, and that is kind of a sunk cost. We can't do too much about it. I'm going to give you some hints on how to find cheap flights in a second, but taking the time and shortening it can be really, really helpful from a budgeting perspective. The other thing is location. I know Australia sounds really, really great, and you thought that might be the place for you, but perhaps the flights to Australia are just too expensive. Maybe you need to actually change the location. Maybe you need to go somewhere that isn't quite so far. Maybe you're going to go to England or Ireland instead. Maybe Scotland. I'm thinking of all the English-speaking countries that might be a little bit more affordable from a flights perspective. Or maybe you want to go somewhere like Thailand, where the price per day is much, much lower than going to Australia. You never ever know. Another one is maybe working while you were abroad. So we have an incredible organization called International Experience Canada, and it is a great way to be able to earn money while you are traveling in a country. And I'm going to actually take you on a journey here, and I'm going to show you what International Experience is all about. International Experience, I think I have a slide on them actually. Let me just check and see if that's the next one that's coming up. Nope, just kidding. So International Experience Canada is a division of our federal government, and what that is, what their job is what is called youth mobility visas. And these youth mobility visas are for people from the ages of 18 to about 35 in 35-ish, maybe a little bit more now, different countries and territories around the world. And these visas allow you to work and travel in another country. So they're called the working holiday visa or the work travel visa or the youth mobility visa. So it's got lots of different names in there, but essentially they have simplified the process for young people because they want you to have work experience abroad. So these visas are faster, cheaper, and simpler to apply for. So you don't need a job before you go. You can just get the visa, head over and find a job when you get there. You don't get kicked out of the country if you don't have a job because it's meant for traveling and working. So you can hop from job to job, which can be really, really helpful for you. It gives you lots and lots of flexibility, and they've reduced the cost significantly. So like I said, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey here of what international experience looks like and how do you find it. So here's my screen, and how you get there is canada.ca/IEC. You'll see I've been there many, many a time. So this is what their website looks like. And we're going to start with, we are a Canadian youth and we want to go and work and travel abroad. So it's a reciprocal program. So others come to Canada. So if you've ever been out to the mountains in the winter and you see all those Australians here, they come in on this youth mobility visa here. So it's quite simple, actually. How it works is there is a drop-down menu here that says, where do you want to go? Hey, look, we'll continue on with our Australia example, and then it will tell you, find out how to apply. Once you click that, it will take you to an information page, and it will show you how to apply. So to get this visa, you need to be a Canadian citizen between 18 and 35 years old and have a passport. Great, love it. They will tell you all of this information. How long can I stay? Lots of information there. They will give you information about the country, how to plan your trip. The other thing that's interesting here is what they call recognized organizations. So these are organizations that are going to help you on the ground. So they may help you to find a job. They may meet you at the airport, make sure that you have accommodation for the first couple of weeks. They may give you a SIM card. They may help you with the visa application process. So you can check and see if you want some additional support. It's like insurance kind of, that they'll be there to help you. You can check out the recognized organizations, and those are the ones that are going to help you find a job. So International Experience Canada is just responsible for having these visas available to you. If you need any support beyond that, you go through a recognized organization. These come with a fee. Is the application process difficult to do on your own? No. If you are a confident traveler, if you are feeling good about going and getting a job in another country, you can absolutely do this on your own. But if you want that insurance, that safety net to know somebody there is on your side, the ROs can help you with that. So what would happen here is if you want to apply for the working holiday visa, anywhere, all of this will link to that country's website because we need to apply to that country to get this visa. So if we clicked on this, it would take us to the Australian government's website. So that's what it looks like for the working holiday visa. And I'll just pop it in here. Canada.ca/IEC. That's how you would go about getting those working holiday visas. Again, they're good for up to 2 years. So you could spend a good chunk of time. You could go for 2 summers, and this is good till you're 35. So even if it's not right for you right now, it might be something that you want to do in the future. A lot of new grads will do it. A lot of people will do it for like the 4 months of summer during university. There's lots of different ways for you to do that and work abroad. So sometimes we have to change up our idea to make that budget fit with what we want to get out of it. And this is how we're going to go back to your travel why, your travel goal at the beginning. So let's take the example of you've always dreamed of going to France for 3 months. This is your dream, and you do the monies and senses. You see what you got coming in, and it's not even close to what it would cost for you to go and hang out in Paris for 3 months. So what are you going to do? You have to go back to your why. Why did you want to travel to France? I asked you to do this reflection at the very beginning. Why are you doing this trip? What do you want to get out of it? I've listed, just for example, 3 different whys, and we're going to talk about how that why would play out. Maybe you have always, always, always dreamed of going to France. Maybe that's your why. Just like France is so romantic and I've seen it in all the movies and I would just love to go to France. Maybe that's your why. Maybe your why is you really, really, really want to learn about the culture of the French people. Why can they eat croissants and stay so skinny? Why are they so relaxed? Why do they all smoke? Why is their wine so good? Why is their underground the way that it is? All sorts of different questions you might have about the culture. So maybe learn about the culture is your why. Or let's say option 3, maybe you actually wanted to learn the language. So we're going to explore each of those whys and how we would have to change our plan in order to make the budget work. So if our budget isn't lining up and our goal was to travel to France for 3 months, if we just want to go to France, we can't change that. We're not going to change that component of our budget. We're going to France, period. That's going to happen. But maybe 3 months is just unrealistic for our budget. So we're going to condense the time. There we go. Now it fits within our budget. Great. Let's say our why wasn't France at all. We actually wanted to learn about the culture. That was more important to us. So instead of just going and being a tourist for 3 months, maybe we are going to go and become an au pair. And we're going to be a nanny to some kids. We're going to live with a local family. We're going to earn money while we are there and get fully immersed in the language and in the food and in the day-to-day life. So again, we're not spending all that money on the tourism stuff. We're not spending money on accommodations. We're actually getting paid to watch a family's children. And then on the evenings and weekends, we have time to go and travel and do that touristy stuff. So, hey, okay, so now we've brought down the cost and now it's within budget. Let's go. Meets our why, meets our budget. Here we go. Scenario 3, pardon me, let me just take a glass of water. Scenario 3, maybe your goal was to actually learn French. Maybe that was your goal. So maybe France isn't actually the answer. Maybe you want to do the Explore program in Quebec. So the Explore program is a free 5-week immersion program subsidized by the government that you can go and do an immersion program and learn all about the language and learn about French. And there you go. Your budget went from this 3-month experience in France, like that's a big budget, to a free program here in Canada. But you are still meeting your why and you are still meeting your budget. So that's an example of why that travel why is so important, is because it can help you ask those questions. Is this change to my plan, to my budget, going to still allow me to have the experience that I'm actually looking for? So those are all really, really great things that you can do. So the au pair thing would probably happen through Au Pair World. So if you're interested in becoming a nanny, that is possible. I'm going to share a couple of things that you can see that you can check out. So let's go back here. And I'm going to show you Au Pair World. So if you do want to work as a nanny, Au Pair World is kind of the umbrella organization that will help you to find a family somewhere in the world. So it's a really, really great opportunity that you click Find a Family. You'll get to do some selecting here and figuring out where you want to go. And then they will see if there are any families that are looking for what you want to do. So this is one way of doing the working holiday visa, is to be a nanny and take care of kids. There are other ways also to reduce cost. I'm going to share another one with you. It is called Workaway. So Workaway is an Airbnb for volunteering, is the way I like to describe it. So with Workaway, these are opportunities for you to volunteer in exchange for your room and board. So the organization will feed you and give you a place to stay in exchange for your support. But anybody can post on here. Let me get rid of that cookies notice there. There are so many different things on here. Anybody can post a project and then you can come and volunteer. And it's everything from gardening to childcare to working on farms to helping people set up their business website, painting their barn, you name it. There's lots of really, really fun things. So teaching English, all sorts of wonderful things. And I am just so jealous of all the things that can be done here. But there are ways that you can search and find out which opportunity might fit you. So you can look by location, you can look by duration, you can look by the thing, maybe you want to be volunteering with horses. You can look for opportunities for horses. So Workaway can be another really great way for you to, again, get that experience and keeping your budget super, super low. Let me know if you have questions in the chat. I'm going to continue talking, but if you do have questions about any of this, pop it in the chat. I want to make sure that you are leaving with your information that you need. So let's, I will continue to push on until I see questions pop up in there. You guys are a very, very quiet group tonight. I must be doing an amazing job answering all your questions. The other thing that's really, really important is to be patient and flexible with your budgeting. All of your dreams may come true, but it's likely that there's going to have to be some sort of compromise on this journey in some way. So just be patient and figure these things out. There are other ways, and I should have shown you this last time I was sharing my screen, but pardon, just bear with me as I share my screen again. Something else that I highly recommend that a lot of people don't know about is Google Flights. So if we go into Google Flights, this is a great thing to look at. So I'm actually trying to travel with my family this summer. So we're going to go from Toronto, and we're going to Paris. Maybe that example was actually me. We're going to go to Paris, and we're going this summer at the end of summer is still there at the end of August. So what you'll actually see is the cost of flights today for the dates that you are looking for. So I can see, oh, okay, I can save a little money if I leave on the Sunday and then I'm going to come back on the Sunday. So you can actually set that, which is helpful. So you can set your dates. And then if you go down, did I push enter? I did not. And then if I click search, what it will do is it will show all of the different flights that are possible there. So it will give you the airline. It will give you how long it is. If there is a stop or a layover, it will tell you very, very clear. It will tell you what your carbon footprint is, if that is important to you. And it will give you all of the information. So you could go down here and be like, I've never heard of Royal Air Maroc, so I'm not going to travel with them, but Aer Lingus I know about. That's something I'm going to book with. So you can go in there and you can find what makes sense for you. Now, the neat thing about this is it will tell you, it will give you trends. Prices right now are high for this trip. So might not be the best time, like buying flights is kind of like doing the stock market. We don't really know when it's going up and down, what it's going to look like, but it will show you that right now it's pretty high. And so you can see that this is what the prices were all throughout. And then it was higher 53 days ago. So you can kind of track and see what is happening with the price. The other thing that is interesting here is that you can track prices. So I'm going to track the prices for this, and what it will do, as you can see down here, you will get emails when prices change. So this allows you to keep track of it, and let me tell you, it works. I traveled to Arizona with some girlfriends, and the flights were super expensive. They were like $900. So I set a tracking piece here, and I would get updates all the time. I ended up getting that $900 flight for $450. So just follow it and be prepared to purchase when it comes into a range that makes sense for you. So it can be very helpful. You can also set it to any dates. So if you are flexible, let's say you are on a gap year and you just want to get to France on a cheap budget, then you can click any dates. So right now in my inbox, I know I have an email there that says, you know what, we found flights for $770 for traveling in April. So you can click any dates and then be a little bit more flexible on that timing. And this is just an incredible resource that not a lot of people know about. And it can save you thousands of dollars quite literally. It's a really great resource. There we go. How are you guys feeling about that? I haven't gotten much comments from you guys. You guys are so quiet. Let's go from there. Okay. I promised you that I would talk about a couple of scholarships. So we at the Canadian Gap Year Association do offer scholarships for people taking gap years. So we have one that comes up in the fall that we already gave out. We have one coming up in the spring. We will be giving that out in the spring. And we give out a scholarship to somebody who is finishing their gap year. So as an opportunity to continue whatever they did on their gap year beyond, we do offer that out in the springtime as well. So this can be put towards travel. So if you do want a little bit of boost of funds, I highly recommend that you get on that list. You can go to cangap.ca/scholarship. And it will take you to a spot where you can put your name down to be notified when we open up that spring opportunity for you. So it is a really great resource that you can use and get some money, which is wonderful. I know of two other scholarships that have been successfully applied to travel opportunities. So the first one is RBC Future Launch. So RBC gives $1,500 to hundreds, thousands of people every year, of young people, and it is specifically for skill development. So you have to think about, what is this trip? How is this trip going to make you better able to live a prosperous life? Is it going to give you skills? Is it going to give you access to something you wouldn't have otherwise? What is there about this trip, this experience, whether it's volunteering or traveling or going to a conference somewhere in the world? How is that going to improve your life? How is this going to improve your future? How is this going to teach you new skills that will support you living a very good life? So that's what the RBC Future Launch is. Again, that's $1,500. And there are different periods where it opens and closes throughout the year. But we've had lots of gap year students be successful in submitting that one and receiving the funds. And a lot of them have used it for travel. The other one is the SYTA Youth Foundation. This organization specifically gives money for young people traveling. So again, if you are interested, this is your basic just travel flat out scholarship. So you can check that out as another resource. Can be really helpful for you there. So here we are. Let me just adjust my camera here because I like to play around with this. There we go. Ta-da! All of my fanciness this late at night. For me, because I'm in Ontario. You might be out on the West Coast and it's not so late for you there. But for me, it is quite late and I am getting sleepy. So we have covered so much today when it comes to budgeting. We've talked about your gap year why. We've talked about what factors into the incoming money. We talked about what factors into the outgoing money. And we talked about all of the ways that you can reduce the cost of your trip, or not all of the ways, but many ways that you can reduce the cost of your trip. So these are all things that can be very helpful for you as you get yourself set up. Now, just as a reminder, you will get a link to the part 1, which was all about logistics, setting yourself up for success, more on your gap year why, lots of really great information about the how of travel. This is about the budgeting. Our next session that we are running in December is all about travel safety. So if you are interested in that element of travel, you can come and join us in December. We have the registration is up on our website, cangap.ca/travel. So it's the same place that you signed up for this workshop, but you can sign up. There you go. I put it in the chat for you. But you can sign up for that December one. We will talk about what you should do ahead of time to be prepared. We'll talk about financial safety. We'll talk about physical safety. We'll talk about making good choices. All of the amazing things that will help you in your quest to travel safely and the resources that exist out there to make it so. So that's where we are going in our third installment of our travel planning workshops. And I hope you can come and join us for that. If you have any questions, please pop them into the chat. If you are tired like me and want to take off, by all means, thank you for joining us this evening. I am so excited to see where you guys all head off to and what that looks like. And you will be getting some follow-up emails with links so you can check everything out. I hope you had a great time tonight. And again, if you have questions, pop them into the chat and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Or we can just say our goodbyes here. I will stop the recording so that the recording doesn't get all of the questions submitted in there.